Welcome to the Deal by Me podcast, where we ask guests to tell us your story. Hello there, this is Dr. James W. Smith, your host. We seek to transform lives by encouraging and inspiring. So, when you listen to any of the Deal by Me podcasts, please support this podcast with a donation or a monthly recurring amount for as little as $3. If you're viewing any of the podcasts on YouTube, please subscribe. To supporters of this podcast, we say thank you. Check out my encouraging, inspiring, and transforming books that can be found on Amazon. I'm available for speaking engagements, in person, and virtual seminars. So please contact me by Facebook, X, and LinkedIn. I have with me the Ronnie Laughlin, who prefers to be called Ronnie, who is a former Division One player and a cancer survivor. Her drive, dedication, and determination were used to battle the mental and physical fatigue associated with chemo. Ronnie credits her parents for showing her what patience, faith, discipline, perseverance, journaling, and internal motivation look like growing up. She has an awesome story, and I'm certain that you're going to enjoy this interview today. And so, Ronnie, it is good to have you come and share with the Deal by Me podcast. So, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are as the interview is being taken?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Smith. I really appreciate this opportunity. As you said, my name is V. Ronnie Laughlin. I go by Ronnie. I am a speech pathologist. I'm a former Division One basketball player. I'm a breast cancer survivor. I'm a former TV analyst. I do a lot of different things. I wear a lot of hats. I'm currently in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia right now, and we're 8 hours or yeah, 8 hours ahead of you guys, wherever you are.
Hmm.
If you're on the East Coast, we're eight, and I think Central maybe 9 hours. So it's nighttime here. Our work week starts on Sunday. We go through Thursday. So this is my weekend. It starts my weekend. So I've been in Saudi Arabia for about 15 years, working as a speech language pathologist, providing services for children, adults, and adolescents who have communicative disorders.
Wow. Ronnie, you have an awesome story. I've had the opportunity to uh, read your profile, all that you are doing, and just to to even think about all of the things that you've done is just amazing. You are
It's nothing but
exciting.
God. Nothing
I
but God.
oh, I know how well I know that. I'm a retired pastor of 32 years myself, so I know exactly what you are talking about. Listen, this is just great. It's going to be a very interesting interview because you've gone through so much, but I think I want to focus more on your surviving the cancer because
Mhm.
you've had it, you've done it. I had prostate surgery, cancer.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, this month will be 20 years. So I
Oh,
know. Oh
congratulations.
yeah. So
Wow. That's amazing,
oh
Dr.
yeah,
Smith.
yeah. So
Ooh.
I feel you. You know. So you obviously
Mhm.
now understand that I
We're
feel
kindred spirits. Yeah, we're linked. We're linked.
I feel
Yes.
where you are. So
Uh-huh.
tell me about finding the lump and how you felt when you received your breast cancer diagnosis. What was that
Sure.
like?
Yeah, it was everybody uses the word surreal. I won't say it was surreal for me. I found the lump many, many, many months before I did anything about it.
Hmm.
Kind of procrastinated with it, wasn't real sure that, it was what it was. Even though I'd done my monthly exams, I really hadn't been keeping up with my mammograms and everything here in the Middle East with my
Hmm.
health care. So when I found the lump, I knew it was different. And deep, deep, deep down inside, I had the feeling that it might be something simply because I had a mother, an aunt, and several friends who had had breast cancer. So I had a familial link to breast cancer.
Hmm.
But didn't really think a whole bunch about it. Actually, just put it out of my mind and didn't even think about it until the areole started to kind of tether to the side where the lump was. And once it started to
Yeah.
do that, I knew that wasn't typical and I had to make a move. So I called one of my friends who's a physician here in Saudi Arabia and told him he's an OBGYN. And I said, I hadn't been in for a while, need an exam, and I got a lump I want you to kind of look at. He
Mm-hmm.
said, go on the app, make an appointment, come on in, sure, I can see you. So I go in, he palpates the left breast, fine, everything's good, just real quick palpitation. Gets to the right breast and he starts to feel, he says, Ronnie, I don't like that. And I said, what don't you like? He said, that lump. I said, I don't either. I said, what are we going to do? He said, well, I want to get an ultrasound and a mammogram. I said, okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I said, can I do that today? He said, I doubt it. He said, they're probably closed. So got on the app, made the appointment. It was like maybe 3 days later that I had that done, which is, in the States, I probably wouldn't have been able to get an appointment that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But here in the Middle East, I did have very, very good health care.
Okay.
So I had the ultrasound done, and it was being done by this really nice little Sudanese girl, and she was, did the left breast just fine, just easy, zip, 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 right
Mm-hmm.
breast over and over and over in the same spot. And I'm a Westerner, and I ask
Mm-hmm.
questions, and in this
Mm-hmm.
culture, they don't ask questions, and have my arm up like this, and I turn around, I say, "What are you looking at?" And she kind of takes a deep sigh, Dr. Smith, and she says, turn around. And so I kind of, got my head
Mm-hmm.
back toward the monitor. And she said, you see this one? She said, this one's pretty normal. It's nice and round. This one right here, it's abnormally shaped. I'm trying to get a good look for the doctor. She was very good in explaining it,
Mm-hmm.
to me as a technician. And so I said, okay. And so after she finished that, she said the doctor will repeat the ultrasound when she comes in. I said, okay. So the doctor comes in, left breast fast, right breast, over and over, same spot. She says, I don't like the lump. And I said, okay. I said, what are we going to do? She said, I want to do a biopsy. And I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what possessed me to say it, but I said, can we do it now?
Mm-hmm.
And she looked at me like, now? And I
Mm-hmm.
said, it was close to closing time, like maybe 6 o'clock or something in the evening. And I said, yeah. She said, well, if you can get approval, we can do it. And so I stepped out in the hall, got on my phone, got the app, got the approval,
Mm-hmm.
walked back in. She prepped me, got the biopsy, took it. It was, for me, I have a very high pain tolerance. So it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
very painful and not, overly
Right.
dramatic or anything. So took the biopsy and she had it in the specimen cup. And again, I don't know what possessed me to say it, but I said, can I see it? And she said, yeah. And so I took it. I said, can I take a picture?
Mm.
And I was taking a picture of it. It looked like, you remember in school where you studied the hydra, that little thing that lived in the water that had all those tentacles? It kind of looked like that.
Okay.
And I looked at it and I said, Dr. Nuff, I said, have you ever seen it look like cancer and it not be cancer?
Mm-hmm.
And she just, I think it took her breath away. She'd never had anybody ask her that. And she looked me directly in the eyes and she said, no.
Oh,
So
wow.
I left,
Wow.
yeah, I left the hospital that day knowing that 99.9% of the chance I probably did have cancer. Had to wait 3 days for the test results to come back.
Mm-hmm.
My OBGYN called me. He said, hey, Ron, how you doing? I said, I'm doing good. What you got? He said, Ronnie, he said, it's breast cancer, stage 2. He says, early stage. He said, but I've got you hooked up with a really good breast surgeon and a great oncologist. He said, make these appointments. And that's how everything got started. And I was just blessed.
Okay, well, look, as we're still talking about this, as briefly as you can, tell the listeners a little bit about the procedures that you had to go through,
Mhm.
in terms of your
So,
diagnosis. Is that part of what you've just said?
yeah, it's
Was
part
there
of it. So
anything?
usually,
Okay, was there
so
anything else that you did?
no, yeah, I did. So at first, they have to do the palpitation. That's just the touching and the feeling. And
Hmm.
doctors have done this. Your OBGYN, they know the
Yeah.
feeling. And I've yet to talk to my OBGYN since to ask him if he knew that day if the lump was cancerous or not. But I
Mm.
hadn't talked with him yet. But
Right.
so, they know the feel of, they know when things aren't right.
Okay.
So the next step is to go get the ultrasound. The ultrasound allows them to get a visual picture of what the tumor looks like.
Hmm.
And they know what they look like. They know the shape, they know the consistency, they know the size, they know the position. So that gives them all that information.
Okay.
So after they do that, they'll do the biopsy. Now the biopsy is twofold. It's to get a sample of the tissue and also to leave a marker in there. So if they have to go in to get to excise cancerous cells, they'll know where to go back again. So they'll do another ultrasound, later on when I did my lumpectomy, they did another ultrasound to find the marker so they knew where to go in to get the tissue to get the cancer cells. So that's usually the procedure. And then after that, I had a mammogram to make sure that the marker was in the right place.
Okay. Now, I know listeners would probably be interested in knowing a little bit about the the challenge that you went through,
Hmm.
at doing your, breast cancer journey. How was that like for you? And could you just briefly mention a little bit about that?
Sure. So this happened in 2020 at the start of the pandemic, believe it or
Hmm.
not.
Hmm.
And believe in Saudi Arabia, we handled the pandemic very, very differently than you guys did. We were on curfews, we were on lockdowns, we had to have an app on our phone that we had to show to enter buildings and that sort of thing. So they weren't playing with the
Hmm.
pandemic over
Hmm.
here. So having that in the back of my mind and knowing that we were my friends and any kind of help that I would have would be cut off. I'd probably have to do
Hmm.
it my own. That's where I got my intestinal fortitude. I knew that I probably would end up driving myself to my appointments and everything because I couldn't risk my friends who were, they were working and working from home, but they eventually started going out, and I couldn't risk them infecting me with my low immunity system and that sort
Hmm.
of thing.
Hmm.
So, it was during the pandemic, and I just had to
Okay.
be extremely cautious in
Hmm.
everything that I did. So it prompted me to have to do everything independently. I still had a tribe of friends here that, would ask me, did I need anything, if I needed anything from the grocery store and that sort of thing. But
Right. Okay.
I didn't have, someone to come pick me up, take me to my appointments and all of
Hmm.
that sort of thing. So,
Well, interesting. Your story is touching because I identify with so much of it.
hmm
I had the biopsy, and at the time I was pastoring. It's been,
hmm
20 years ago, and after I had the biopsy, the doctor told me, to be a couple of days, and they let me know what the situation was. Believe it or not, I was on my way about maybe 15, 20 miles away from home, on my way to an afternoon service. I was to do a revival at a
hmm
church, and I got the call from my doctor,
Oh, wow.
and they told me that it was cancer.
hmm
And I'm on my way to do a revival. I honestly, I pulled over to the side of the road, and I just couldn't help but let it out. Because I just didn't know what was going on. I didn't know
hmm
how I was going to deal with it.
Right.
But I continue on the church that day, and you're talking
hmm
about, I don't like to boast on my preaching, but I don't know, Lord, I mean, he
You
just,
did it that day,
oh
huh?
boy, you did, I did it that day. That day I did it. And I felt so much better when it was
hmm
over. The service was over, and I came home and I
hmm
shared it with my wife, what the doctor had said. But
hmm
I'm identifying with you, so I know exactly what it's like and how that process might go. While we're talking about this, I just
hmm
want to take a break in it and just say to you, I started this podcast probably maybe about 6 months before I retired from my church's pastor, and
hmm
that was in 22, right
Okay.
at the end of 22. And when I did it, I really wanted to continue my ministry, and so that's the
hmm
reason I wanted to do, encouraging, inspiring, and hopefully transforming, something to that
hmm
effect. And so the guests that I have on, I'm always asking them, and you are a perfect guest, if somebody's going through something similar. And in your case, somebody's going through a situation where they might find themselves uh, with the diagnosis of cancer.
hmm
And it could be anything else. It could be some other traumatic
Yeah,
situation that
any
they have. Yeah,
life-altering
ex
incident can make
exactly that.
change
That
course.
that's where
Hmm
that's where I'm going.
hmm
What would you say to them that would be encouraging, that would be inspiring, and maybe hopefully transforming?
Dr. Smith, one thing that I did or that I do is I take notes from my former mentor, Amelia Hudson. She's since passed on, and she had breast cancer, lung cancer, and pancreatic cancer, and ended up
Hmm.
dying from the pancreatic cancer. But I learned from her as a mentor when I was in my master's program at LSU. And she said, Ronnie, you can react to situations in two different ways. You can have an emotional reaction that, just kind of freak out kind of thing, and that
Hmm.
doesn't get the problem solved. Or you can have an intellectual reaction where you can stop and think about, the process and problem solve and work through it. And that's how I approached my cancer diagnosis. I went straight up intellectual on it. I
Hmm.
did my research. I didn't do a woe is me, why me?
Hmm.
I never really cried about it because I figured, God put this into my
Hmm.
life for a reason. And,
Hmm.
I was going to work through it or not, or he was going to call me home, one or the other. But whatever I chose, I knew that I had to follow it through. And so, just from an intellectual standpoint,
Hmm.
I just internalized thinking through it, processing it, and trying to fully understand what I needed to do. And that's kind of where the books came from is,
Hmm.
once I started to intellectualize everything, I found out so much information that I thought, other people probably need to know this just so they can have the information and
Okay.
not feel afraid or so that they can anticipate what to look forward to as they go through a cancer journey.
Okay, well, that's good advice.
Hmm.
Because you know, so many people are going through so many life-altering situations in their life,
Hmm.
and I'm still doing some interim pastoring work now, and I had situations which member just got a kidney, so
Hmm.
was going through this what how you had to go in every 2 3
The
times a week.
dialysis.
Yeah,
Hmm.
dialysis, exactly.
Hmm.
And so,
Hmm.
there are so many people going through stuff. So I appreciate what you have shared.
Hmm.
Listeners, don't go into place. Hang with us. This is a great interview, and I want to just give Ronnie the opportunity to share with you how you can uh, get more information about her and her book. She has written a book about her experience, so I want to give her this opportunity now to tell you about a little bit about the book, the title, and where you can get it from, and anything else that she might want to share along that line that would be of help to you.
Sure. So I have a copy. I don't know if you can see it, but it's called An Atypical Journey, Facing
Okay.
Breast Cancer Alone in the Middle East with God and My Tribe. You can get it on Amazon. I
Okay.
wrote a companion book. It's called My Appointment Notebook. And this is the book that you take to your appointments to keep all of your medical information in one place. And
Mm,
that's available on Amazon too.
okay.
You can also get it on my website at ronnielaughlin.com and has all the background information and some endorsements and that sort of thing as well there. So that's how you can get it. You can contact me on Facebook or Instagram. Just Google my name and it'll come up with all of my connections.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I probably have you to share the book again just as we are
Mhm.
closing out so everybody can keep it in mind.
Mhm.
A couple more questions I want to ask you. Then I want to talk a little bit about, why you're in the Middle East and all this stuff.
Okay.
You've done so much stuff, you're just awesome. Uh, I take it that you decided to write the book based upon your experience, and you've already shared that, so
Mhm.
that's helpful. So what I want to know is how was your support system uh, when you were going through your your journey or you were dealing with the challenges? Did you have good
Mhm.
support system, like
I
family,
did.
friends?
I
Okay.
did, Dr. Smith. I've had, like I said, I've had many friends who've gone through breast cancer, and I've been very close with them. And
Hmm.
my best friend died many, many years ago, before a lot of the new innovations with breast cancer came out. And it was even before we even had text. I mean, we were communicating with people via email.
Hmm.
And I just remember seeing how difficult it was for her to stay in touch with people and, people writing back and wanting to know updates. And when I got my diagnosis, I was like, I ain't telling a whole bunch of people because I know I ain't gonna have the energy to write them back, and they're gonna be asking all them questions. So
Hmm.
right away, I limited, who my contacts were and who my tribe would be. I had about 6 or 8 people that I stayed in touch with via a WhatsApp group that really, really knew me and knew that
Hmm.
If I gave an update that day, that was good. But if I didn't give an update that day, they knew that maybe I was tired and they didn't hound me about it. My
Mm-hmm.
tribe was amazing. They were
Okay.
amazing. Not many
Okay.
family members knew. My sister was the only family member that knew.
Hmm.
I had two friends here, three friends here that knew. And then I had two friends back in the States that knew that I stayed in touch with. So not many people, but they all knew me and they knew that I would give them updates as needed. And then after it was all over, they said, "Girl, if that third day we didn't hear from you, we were getting ready to come over there or whatever." And I said, I know, but but they knew that I would give them information and they wouldn't
Hmm.
hound me. So there, it was a very, very good support staff. My
Okay.
friends that were here in Jeddah, they would
Hmm.
always ask, or message every day, do you need anything from the grocery store? And thank God I was able to go to the grocery store, on the days that we were off
Hmm.
a curfew and
Okay.
everything. So it was a good support staff. I was blessed. I was really
Oh,
blessed.
well, great. I'm glad to hear that.
Mm,
Now, I want to switch gears a little bit with you because your profile is just so interesting. And you even said when you first got started that you were in the Middle East, as a matter of fact, Saudi Arabia.
hmm
So, I guess I'm just curious. I'm just one of these curious individuals. I want to know what made you go to Saudi Arabia.
What I had an
Well,
opportunity. What
okay.
the first time I was here in Jeddah, it was 1998 or 99. I came over after a colleague had invited me to come over to start to train Middle Eastern students. They didn't have speech pathology over here
Hmm.
as a profession. And some people from San Diego State had started to send professors and instructors over to teach a cohort of the first Middle Eastern students to become speech language pathologists. So I came over for 1 year and trained them. And then I went back to my job at USF for a few years. And I came back in 2010 when a university opened up. It was a women's university. They still do
Hmm.
a lot of separate education here. They still have only female universities and male universities and some
Hmm.
mixed. So they opened up a university called Darul Heckman University. And the same colleague that had me come over in 98 asked if I would come over and set up the clinic because I'm a clinical speech language pathologist. I do a lot of on-hands therapy,
Okay.
so or hands-on therapy. So I came over in 2010 and I stayed at the university till 2014, and then I wanted another kind of experience. I wanted some hospital experience, so I went up to Riyadh, which is in the eastern part of Saudi Arabia, and did stay there for about 3 years, and then came back to work at the university for another 2 years, and now I'm just a private contractor,
Okay.
taking in private clients. So I work with
Uh,
children and adults and adolescents.
awesome. You
Mm.
you you
I love my job. I
and
love my job.
you're amazing. You're amazing. I know. Well, let me ask it this way. When did you first go to Saudi Arabia? What year was that? How long?
The
Oh,
first time was,
how long
yeah,
have you been? How long have you been working
I've been
in
about
Saudi
here
Arabia?
about 14 years now.
Oh,
So the first time
wow.
was, yeah, about 14, 15 years. So the first time was 99, and then I came back, and then I've been here since 2010.
Okay. I'm curious. You love it, you say?
I don't always say I love it, but it
Okay.
works for me. It
Okay.
works for me. I'm not subjected to the microaggressions and all the racism
Hmm.
and the violence and the crime. There's none of that. I can go out at 2 o'clock in the morning if I want to, because they're very nocturnal culture here. There are a lot of things go off late at night, and I
Okay.
can feel safe. I can feel
Okay.
very safe. So it works for me like that, in that it's a safe culture to be in, and it's a
Okay.
nice travel point if I want to go to Europe, if I want to go to the UAE, that sort of thing. So I get to travel a little bit
Hmm.
for a little less than those American prices, coming over and everything. So
Okay.
it
Okay.
works for me. It works
Excited.
for me.
I
Hmm
mean, you're amazing. One of the things that I want to ask you about, because I know that you were over there during the time that you were going through your cancer.
hmm
Uh, what was that like in terms of your health care uh, in the in Saudi Arabia?
hmm
Uh, the the restrictions. Just talk about what you had to deal with and how you
hmm
were able to navigate these situations.
Sure, that's a great question, and it's one that I really want to share with people because they don't understand. Um, a lot of people assume that because it's the Middle East that it's not good health care, but I got VIP healthcare. I really did.
Okay.
My chemo was an individual room.
Hmm.
Most people when they get chemo, it's just in a big room with all the lounge chairs sitting around. I had an individual private room that I
Hmm.
had. The culture here is set up for family. So the rooms are very large because when there's all the rooms at that hospital were private because
Hmm.
the whole family comes. I mean, mama, daddy, brother, cousins, everybody comes, when people are in the hospital. So
Hmm.
had a private room, and I had a great oncologist, a great radiologist. The nursing staff were amazing. It was just really, really good health care. And I asked a lot of questions. I found out a lot of information about, the type of cancer I had, I had one reaction to one of the drugs. I got hives with one of the drugs, and we had to determine which drug it was, and it was just a crapshoot that he chose the right one.
Hmm.
It was the one that would have the least effect on, killing the cancer cells. So it was the right one, thank goodness, and I stopped the itching. But I got excellent care. I'm really blessed that I got excellent care. My
Oh.
nurse friend, who's also a YouTuber, she told me when I did a show with her, she said, Ronnie, she said, in the States, you never would have gotten an ultrasound and mammogram same day. And I
Hmm.
said, you're right. It probably would have been six months out, 3 months out, that sort
Okay.
of thing. So I was really blessed to be here. And then during the pandemic, that made it a little difficult with navigating around. We had to wear our
Mhm.
mask. And like I told
Right.
you, we had to have an app on our
Mm.
phone that you had to show when you went to the hospital that your immune status was good. And if you
Okay.
didn't have that, you couldn't go anywhere. You just couldn't
Okay.
go anywhere. So
Mm.
they were very, very cautious and very, very serious about, the pandemic and making sure that the level stayed low here.
Now, I never had the opportunity to go to Saudi Arabia, but I was
Mhm.
in the Middle East in Israel for just
Uh-huh.
one of those 10-day travel situations.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm told about all of the uh, Mercedes and Jaguars and everybody driving over there. Did you drive one of those?
Oh no, I don't have. I got a tiny little SUV, a little MG SUV. So no, I don't spend my money that way. But it's so funny that you say that, Dr. Smith. Living over here with all the decadence and just seeing everything, it's very difficult to wow me. It's very
Okay.
because you can be driving down the street, you see a Rolls Royce, you'll see a
That's right.
Bentayga,
I know.
you'll see a Corniche, you'll see the Rolls Royce Corniche, you'll
Mhm.
see what's that other one, the Bugatti.
Yeah.
You'll
Oh yeah.
see,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and it's just nothing.
I
People just
know.
driving it, nothing.
I
Old men
I
driving them,
I,
old men driving them.
that's the reason I asked you. I know.
Yeah, so
I do
it's
know. I do know.
and the homes, the homes are palatial. Most of the homes are so big and palatial. So
Hmm.
it's a sight to behold. And it's really just,
Okay.
a friend and I were talking the other day about just the wealth here. The
Uh-huh.
wealth is just amazing. So, but you also
Wow.
have some
Wow.
poverty too that you
Yeah,
see.
I know. I know. I
Yeah.
know. Well, let me ask you my last question because
Okay.
I'd love to get that from you. Uh, Tell me about the most important knowledge that you gained by having this breast cancer journey.
I think the most important thing that I learned was that you have to keep moving forward.
Hmm.
I think that you can, you embrace the diagnosis and you understand the diagnosis, but you have to keep moving forward in order to beat it. And that's what I thought about every day. And I got that from my mentor, Kay Yao, and you know her for being from North Carolina.
Hmm.
So, she talked about when life kicks you, let it kick you forward.
Hmm.
So I just every day I continue to do my workouts. I continue to walk even during my chemo, even though I was extremely, extremely tired and had that chemo related fatigue. So, the biggest thing that I did was to just keep moving forward. You have to keep going forward because if you stop, you're going to be where you're going to be.
Hmm.
And I knew that I wanted some more time here, and I think that I wanted to be able to share something through the book. So I knew that I had a purpose, and that's what kept me going as well.
Now, Ronnie, I told you it'll be my last question, but one thing you did say you were going to share with me when we
Hmm.
first got started, you was going to share about how where the V came from.
Sure, sure. So,
Uh,
so my mother, God rest her soul, loved her dearly. I finally got around, I think when I was like 16 or 18, asking her why she named me Veronica. And uh and that's what the V stands for, Veronica. So she
okay.
said, I named you after Veronica Lake. And I looked it up. By that at that time we had encyclopedias, if you remember then.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Mama, she's a white lady with blonde hair. Why you She said, I just like the name. I said, okay. So my mother always called me Veronica.
Okay.
My father, on the other hand, I had two older brothers. I was the third child. My father, when I was born, my father, I don't remember him calling me Veronica. He always called me Ronnie. So I was about to submit my last revision for my book, and the title of I had the title and I had my name. It was just Ronnie Laughlin. I was sitting there just praying over it and meditating, and something said, "Pay homage to your mother." Put the V there, V
Okay.
Ronnie Laughlin, and that's why the V is there for
Okay.
my mom.
What's
So
that? What's that? I got you. Ronnie, it's been a pleasure talking with
same
you.
here, Dr. Smith.
I've
Same
been,
here.
I've enjoyed the conversation, and I trust that everybody else have enjoyed it. Would you give listeners the name of that book one
Hmm.
more time and
Sure.
where they can get it?
The name of the book is An Atypical Journey, Facing
Hmm.
Breast Cancer Alone in the Middle East with God and My Tribe. And then the accompanying book, if you have to go to your chemos and your radiation, everything, you can take this book. I'm thinking about having it changed to a spiral bound
Yeah,
thing, a
I
spiral
got you.
bound notebook. And this is called My Appointment Notebook. You can find them both on Amazon. I'm on Facebook at Ronnie Laughlin, and you can also find me on my website at ronnielaughlin.com.
Thank you so very much. And there you have it. The Ronnie Lofton sharing with us today. And until next time, peace and blessings be with each of you.